Hello everyone. As we know that we have already began this chapter consolidation, and under the consolidation we have discussed what is the definition of consolidation, what do you mean by compressibility, what are the various types of consolidations, and then also we have discussed how we can carry out the consolidation test in the laboratory. So we should know that based on the consolidation test, we can go for many definitions and we can calculate many parameters which are related to the settlements, right? So let us see how we can calculate the void ratio. See, as I told you that during the consolidation test, normally what we have done, we have used the various loads, right, in the form of a pressure like 10 kilonewton per meter square, 20, then 40, just double the pressures, 40 kilonewton per meter square, then 80 kilonewton per. Likewise, we have exceeded the values, right? We have doubled the values, and for each effective, for each stages, for each pressures, right? We have gone for the experiment that has taken 24 hours time, you can say. So it takes 24 hours time, and for one pressures, that means one load which you are going to put on the hanger. So this test, you see, this test can be continued for the period of 1 week. So why? Because you are going to put the load on the hanger, and how the dial gauge reading is going to change, that also you have to note down for one load, right? And this will continue for 24 hours. Similarly, you are going to double the load. Again, you have to continue the experiments for 24 hours. So likewise, we have to proceed for 1 week. So now the question arises, this question is that how we can find out the void ratio, right? And what are the effective stress? Whatever the load you have used, like 10 kilonewton per meter square, 20, 40. So those are called as effective stress. But the thing is how we can calculate the void ratio from the experiments, how it is possible. See, the final void ratio at the end of each pressures, that means you are going to continue first experiments for 24 hours, right? So what will be the final void ratio for each load, we can say? For 10 kilonewton per meter square, right? What will be the final void ratio? For 20 kilonewton per meter square, what will be the final void ratio? So how we can determine? So to determine the void ratio or to calculate the void ratio, there are two methods. One method is called as height of solid method, and second is change in void ratio method. Normally, the first method is used for the saturated and unsaturated soils, whereas the second method is used only for saturated soil. So we are going to talk about the height of solid methods. By using the height of solid method, how we can calculate the final void ratio. You can see the equivalent height of solid is determined from the dry mass of the soil, right? And the height of solid is can be calculated by the formula. Different formulas are there. Let us see. As we know, a specific gravity is equal to density of solid by density of water. So density of solid, we can write mass of solid by volume of solid. So this will be equal to G gamma W. So further, the Vs, volume of solid, we can write in the form of mass of solid by G gamma W, and the height of solid, right? Height of solid means the sample which you have used for the experiments, right? That you are going to take it out at the end of the experiments, and which we have to take, you take the final weight, and then we shall dry it into the oven, right? And after drying, whatever the weight is there, that is called as mass of the solid, or the height of the solid also we can measure. Suppose the volume of the solid is Vs, then you can divide by A, we can find out the height of the solid. So in case of Vs, we can also write this formula. So as I told you, Hs is the height of solid, volume of solid, mass of dry sample, G specific gravity, A cross-sectional area of the sample. So mass of solid, when we are going to determine at the end of the experiment. So as we know, the void ratio is defined as the ratio of the volume of void by the volume of solid. So volume of void, we can also write total volume minus volume of solid will be equal to volume of void. So further, if you are going to multiply by, further if you are the total volume, we can also write cross-sectional area into height of the sample. So A into H, and the Vs volume of solid A into Hs by Vs is equal to A into Hs. So A, we shall remove the A from the numerator and denominator, and finally we can find out this formula. That means void ratio is equal to H minus Hs by Hs, where H is the total height or total thickness of the sample. So the void ratio is determined from the total height and the height of the solid. So what we can say, E is equal to H minus Hs by Hs. So this formula we have to use to determine the or to calculate the void ratio. The total thickness of the sample is measured at least once during the test, usually either before the start of the test or at the end of the test. So before beginning of your experiment, consolidation test, we can also measure the thickness, total thickness, right? And or we can also measure at the end of the test. Once the test is going to be over, then also we can measure the total height of the sample. And suppose you want to measure the total thickness of the sample during other stages of the loading. In that case, the H is worked out from the measured thickness and the difference of the dial gauge reading. So you can see here, the total height is equal to initial height plus minus delta sigma H. That means HO is nothing but it is the initial height or the total thickness of the sample in the beginning, right? Suppose you want to find out the height in the middle or at any stage of the loading. So in that case, what we can do, suppose if you are going to measure at the end of the experiment, in that case, that what is going to happen? You are going to remove the samples. You are going to remove the load one by one. So in that case, expansion will take place, and at that time we can add the change in thickness. Plus sign will be used. Minus sign we can use in the beginning. Suppose you are going to measure the initial height in the beginning. So change in thickness, what is going to happen? Once the load is kept on the hanger, the thickness of the sample is going to decrease. So in that case, we have to use the minus sign. So suppose the initial thickness is 25 millimeter. Area of the ring, consolidation ring, is capital A, which is 50 centimeter square. Volume is 125 cm3. Mass of solid is also given. Let us take this example. G is equal to 2.67. So Hs, height of solid, we can calculate which by this formula, which will be equal to 14.25 millimeter, right? So H minus Hs, H is the initial height, okay? H is nothing but H is equal to HO also we can say, initial height. So initial height is 25, this height of the solid, we can subtract it. So this will be equal to H minus Hs will be equal to 10.75 millimeter. Okay. So H is equal to HO means this is the initial height. 25 is the initial height of the sample. So whatever the dial gauge you are reading, you are going to use. So we have to also know the least count for the calculation of the values in millimeter. So least count of the dial gauge is equal to 0.01 millimeter. Now we can see this table. This is important for your understanding. So as we have discussed in the consolidation test, whatever the load in the form of a pressure you are going to apply, that is 10 kilonewton per meter square. And this experiment will continue for 24 hours. Likewise, you are going to double the load and again for 24 hours. So this load is going to be doubled up to 640. Okay. And dial gauge reading C at the in the beginning, the dial gauge reading is 490. So what is going to happen once you are going to put the load in the form of a pressure on the hanger, the thickness is going to decrease. It is going to 482. So change in thickness is equal to minus 0.8. How minus 0.8 coming? This minus this is equal to, it will be 8 and least count is 0.01. So 0.08 mm we can write here. And minus sign indicates that the decrease in height due to the application of load on the hanger. So next we can also see that HS we have already calculated in the previous slide, which is equal to 14.25 millimeter. And EF is the final void ratio. So here you can see that minus sign, as I told you, decrease in height. But in the last, once all the loads in the form of pressure is going to be removed from the hanger, what is going to happen? The sample will expand. Okay. So once it is going to be expand, then this minus this we are going to consider here plus sign, because of the swelling of the sample, no load is there. You can see here. So by using the formula H is equal to HO plus minus delta sigma, H is the initial thickness. So what we shall do? We shall subtract these values from 25. This value is going to be subtracted and we can get the values of this H. Okay. So H is nothing but HO. H is nothing but HO, 25 millimeters. So 25 minus the change in thickness, 0.0 minus 0.08. So this value we shall get. Similarly, so H minus HS, you can see HS already we have calculated here, 14.25. So from each value of H, we shall subtract the HS. So we can see that for different effective stress, we shall get the values of H minus HS. So once you find out the values of HS and H minus HS, what we shall do? We can find out the final void ratio for each effective stress. So this is the void ratio. So now what is our further target? We have to plot the graphs in between the applied pressures, which are called as effective stress, and the void ratio. So this graphs in between the applied pressure, which is effective stress, and final void ratio gives many definitions, right? So let us see in the next slides. What do you mean by unloading and reloading? You can see at the time of experiment, what we are going to do. You are going to put the load on the hanger. So the soil sample is going to be compressed, right? So it is going to be indicated by loading. Loading is going to be indicated by AB. Okay. So indicates the decrease in void ratio with an increase in effective pressures. So here we can see that we have taken the logarithmic values of effective stress and void ratio. So BEC indicates the expansion curve. That means what? At the time of consolidation test, we have discussed, once you are going to apply the load on the hanger, after 24 hours again we are going to double, and finally we are going to apply the load. For example, let us say we are going to apply the load 640 kilonewton per meter square. So after completion of the experiments, we have to remove the 1/4 of the load. So once you are going to remove, that means we are going for unloading. So once we are going to unload, then the BEC curves we can get. This is also called an expansion curve. Okay. If the specimen which has swelled on the point C is reloaded. Suppose the final expansion line is the CEB. So this is the final C point. Once you are going to recompress it, reload it. See, this activity is also possible in the field, right? Or at the construction site. So the recompression curve CFD is going to occur. That means this is the unloading curve, and then it is called a reloading or recompression, and this is the loading, right? So DG continues as an extension of the first loading curve, AB. So DG is going to meet with the AB line, okay? And further it will continue. Now we can see some definition. We shall discuss about the definition. In the beginning itself, I told you that using the effective stress and the void ratio of the sample, we can plot the graphs. And after plotting the graphs, we can find out, we can go for many definitions. So what are those definitions? So first definition is coefficient of compressibility. See, coefficient of, whenever you are going to plot the graphs in between the void ratio and effective stress, right? So what is said that the coefficient of compressibility is defined as decrease in void ratio per unit, increase in effective stress. You can see this curve, okay? So as the void ratio, as the effective stress is increasing, the void ratio is decreasing, okay? And we can also denote the coefficient of compressibility by AV. So AV is equal to minus delta E by delta sigma. Minus sign indicates the increase in effective stress causes decrease in void ratio. So you can see there is no unit of the void ratio. As you know, it is expressed in fractions. So this is the effective stress. That means the force by area that we can say that L square by F and meter square per kN, we can denote it. So coefficient of compressibility. Now we can define coefficient of volume change. Coefficient of volume change, or it is also called as coefficient of volume compressibility, is defined as the volume. It is the ratio of the volumetric strains per unit increase in effective stress. You can see the volumetric strain is the change in volume divided by the original volume or initial volume, you can say. Okay, so delta sigma bar is the change in effective stress. So next we can see compression index. The next definition is the compression index is equal to the slope of the linear. Here we are going to draw the graphs in between the log of effective stress and void ratio. So you can see the graph is in the form of a straight line. So how we can define the compression index is the change in the void ratio. It is the ratio of the change in void ratio divided by the log of effective stress by initial effective stress. How we can this is the final effective stress. How we can find out this effective stress and the void ratio here? You can see in the initial void ratio is here, okay, and once you are going to increase the stress, effective stress, the void ratio we are going to get at this point, okay. So final effective, this is the final effective stress, and this is the initial effective stress. So initial effective stress will be here, and the final effective stress should be here, okay. So change in void ratio, what is the values of void ratio here, and what is the values of void ratio here. So this minus this will give you change in void ratio. So compression index we can also write the formula of the compression index in this form, okay. So delta sigma bar in the change in effective stress. See, the compression index is extremely useful for the determination of settlement in the field. This is very important terminology. You can see here, Terzaghi and Peck has given some empirical relationship for clays of low to medium sensitivity. You can see that sensitivity already we have defined. It is the ratio of the unconfined compressive strength of undisturbed sample to the unconfined compressive strength of remolded sample, right? So what it says that if the degree of sensitivity is less than equal to 4, in that case, we can calculate the compression index from the different formula. For undisturbed soils, compression index is equal to 0.009 into WL minus W is the liquid limit of that soil. For remolded sample, we can use this formula. Okay, and the value of what it says that the value of compression index varies from 0.30 for highly plastic clays and 0.075 for low plastic clays. So compression index is also related to in situ void ratio or water content, right? So if you know the in situ void ratio or water content for a particular soil, in that case, you can also calculate the value of CC by this formula, right? By using the initial void ratio and the water content of the soil, right? So the void ratio you can find out for a particular soil where you are going for the construction. So now we can see some other definition we shall discuss now. What do you mean by expansion index or swelling index? Okay. So expansion index or swelling index is the slope of the E log sigma bar plot. Okay. So sigma bar is nothing but the effective stress is the void ratio. So we can see expansion index or swelling index. So what is going to happen? At the time of experiment, consolidation test, this curve, loading curve, you can see, this is the loading curve because you are going to put the load on the hanger during the consolidation test. So what is going to happen? If you are going for the unloading, in that case, the expansion is going to take place. That means unloading, right? Or expansion curve graph also we can say. So BEC. So the expansion index C we can define by delta change in void ratio divided by log sigma bar O plus change in effective stress, right? This is the initial effective stress plus change in effective stress divided by initially effective stress base to 10. So we can also define the expansion index by the formulas. Now, the next is the recompression index. Recompression index, you can see this figure. This is the expansion index, this graph BEC. Again, you are going to recompress it. That is the CFD. Okay. So recompression is the compression of the soil which had already been loaded and unloaded. That means this is loading line and again unloading line. So loading and unloading has taken place. After that, you are going to recompress it. You can see, you can use the graph CFB. Okay, the load during recompression is less than the load to which the soil has been subjected previously. Why it is less? Because already it has been compressed. Okay, so that's why the recompression value will be, reloading value will be less since it has already been loaded. And the slope of recompression curve obtained during reloading, CFD, right? In between the E and log sigma bar plot, we can define by this formula. Recompression index is equal to ratio of the change in void ratio to the initial effective stress plus change in effective stress divided by change in effective stress base to 10. So by this formula, we can calculate the recompression index. Next, we can see normally and over consolidated clays. What does it mean? See, whenever we are going to construct any structure on the soil, we can define whether the soil is normally consolidated or the over consolidated. A normally consolidated soil is one which had not been subjected to a pressure greater than the present existing pressures. See, whatever the existing pressure is available at the site, if the pressure has not been applied earlier more than the present existing pressure, in that case, that soil can be called as normally consolidated clay. A soil is said to be over consolidated if it had been subjected in the past to a pressure in excess of the present pressure. That means suppose suppose the site is vacant and already some construction was there, the building had been dismantled, right? And already suppose the 5 kilonewton per meter square, the pressure has been developed on that soil. But now the building is not there. You are going for the new construction. And from the new construction, if you are going to apply the 4 kilonewton per meter square, that means, no, sorry, the excess of the, already see, it had been subjected in the past to a pressure in excess of the present pressure. So earlier 5 kilonewton per meter square, when the old building was there, the stress which were developed on the soil, right? Due to the structure, suppose you have a 5 kilonewton per meter square, and presently, whatever the structure you are going to construct after the dismantling of the structure on the same site, right? And the pressure is going to be developed by the existing construction. The present construction is 4 kilonewton per meter square. Then we can say it is over consolidated. Already it has been consolidated more than the present the pressures, we can say. So a portion AB curve shown here represents the normally consolidated condition. That means what? The soil has not been applied the pressure greater than the existing pressure. So consolidation is going to take place. The soil in the range CD, is recompressed, right? Represents the over consolidated conditions. Recompressed. Okay. And the next definition, the maximum pressure to which an over consolidated soil had been subjected in the past, whatever the pressure, as I told you, the 5 kilo, suppose 5 kilonewton per meter square, the pressure was applied due to the old building on a particular site. Okay. So in this definition also I explained about the over consolidated soil. So whatever the values of the pressure was there in the past divided by present pressures is known as over consolidation ratio. Okay. So as I told you that the maximum pressures applied, for example, maximum pressure 5 kilonewton per meter square, and present pressure you are going to apply 4 kilonewton per meter square. So 5 by 4 is called as over consolidation ratio. Now the next definition we can see, say under consolidated clay. Under consolidated clay means a soil could be considered under consolidated or unconsolidated immediately after a new load is applied, but before the excess pore water pressure has dissipated. So just at the time of application of the load, right? That means the soil on which you are going for the construction has not experienced any pressures earlier, right? So just it is a beginning that we can consider, that we can say as under consolidated clay. Or we can also define if the clay deposit has not reached equilibrium. Suppose you are going to construct a structure on the site, on the soil also we can say, that structure is going to apply the pressure on the soil 4 kilonewton per meter square. But the soil is capable to take 5 kilonewton per meter square. That means what we can say, the 4 is definitely less than 5 kilonewton per meter square. So we can say it is under consolidated. So this normally occurs in the area of recent landfill. So this is all about your today topic. Tomorrow we shall discuss about the next topic. Thank you.